Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep, 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 yep. Wah, wah, wah. La, 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 la. Na, na, na. Na, 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 na. Posted that to there, posted that to there. What up, everyone? Peeps at home. We will be going... starting it in 7-ish minutes is when it will be 7 o'clock on the dot. And I'm just going to make sure that I've posted everywhere that we're going live. So got to add this to the Instagram as well. Not sure if anyone joins from here, but we will try anyway. Yo, going live. Probably. What else was I... That's another thing I was going to chat with you about. I can't remember.
9 degrees tomorrow.
Yeez.
Ooh.
Oi, what's this? You're doing pop smoke, muscle ups. Muscle ups to pop smoke.
9 degrees, 9 degrees, 80% chance of rain. 12 degrees, 12 degrees, 9 degrees, 8 degrees, 8 degrees, 8 degrees, 9 degrees. These are the bottoms, definitely on the top, but that's
yeah.
some feral. Although tomorrow, 9 degree bottoms, 14 degree tops.
Glad that I'm not working outdoors, is all I can say.
It's going to be cold.
I take it back. I'm not going to become a world-class handstander if I have to work out in that kind of bullshit. No, sorry. What? Here's a somewhat definition for you. If I was in the top 10 in Australia, does that qualify as being world-class?
I think I'd say so.
Okay.
I think I'd say so. But again, what is top 10? Yeah. What does top 10 look like in Australia type of deal? Like, would that guy who can hold 2 minutes 30 be a better handstander? No. But like, what qualifies that as him not being better?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the question.
Like
what's
I would obviously need to be doing more than 2 minutes 30. Like 2 minutes 30 should be a warm-up.
Like that should be... Do you reckon that's like in top 10 people, that's like a warm-up? That's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Quack was saying he met a girl today at the gym who she did like a 2-minute warm-up handstand. And that was just like awesome. ex gymnast sort of crazy person who thinks it's fun to
just
do that. But that's probably the level I'll have to get to. And I kind of want to. I've been slacking off on my long holds. Actually, not slacking off. I've been purposefully not doing them because I'm trying to get sort of strength-based stuff at the moment. But I do need to incorporate them into back into the routine.
Well, specifically with handstands is the act of supporting the body in a stable inverted vertical position. So theoretically, I would say that as long as it's not too much of a curve, it does meet the definition of a handstand. But if you're so bent that your legs are pointing like horizontal, I'm like, no, that's not. You're not handstanding at that point. That's not vertical.
I can guarantee you that person. Almost guarantee you that person doesn't know how to do a tuck handstand, which is relatively simple. You just bring your knees in together as if you're sort of crouching down, or as if you're doing like a squat with knees together.
Yeah.
And I'd be willing to bet that they couldn't do that, but I'm not. If I saw it in person, I'd probably be like, "Damn, dude, that's crazy. Why don't you learn it with some form as well and be even crazier?" Hey, why don't you do that? So yeah. I think I've posted everywhere that I want to. Actually, I'm just on the messenger.
Like, it's even hard to find what is considered world class as handstand. Like, if you just type that in, you get nothing that's even remotely helpful.
Okay. How come?
Like, you type in, like, world like world level handstand. And it's just like how to learn how to do a handstand.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's actually quite hard to find statistics, details, even training stuff. So, for example, I went through a period of going like, I want to hold a handstand, like how to handstand longer, how to handstand up into the 4-minute mark, sort of thing. I really couldn't find any information targeted to that, which makes me think there's not many people who are wanting to do that. Like it's not.
Well, this is a pretty crazy one actually. I thought it was going to be way longer, but it says here that the longest duration to perform a single arm handstand is 59 seconds.
That's not correct.
That's the Guinness World Records.
Yeah, Guinness World Records.
I'm like, damn.
On. Guinness World Records ain't shit.
Who do you reckon has done longest?
I've seen Miguel do longer than that.
In a one-handed handstand?
Yeah. For his warm-up, man. For his warm-ups, he does 5-minute 2-arm, then 1 minute on each other side. That's his warm-up.
Damn. Crazy. Like, why wouldn't... It'd be interesting if he'd just be like, oh, Guinness World Records, can you just come and check this out?
Yeah. No, those things are... you have to be the one submitting to it, I guess, sort of thing. So, and then it's like, okay, what do you get from it?
There's a lot of people on this comment that are like...
It's more of an ego thing.
There's lots of comments being like, yeah, this has been beaten like multiple times over.
Yeah. I'm hardly a handstand connoisseur. I'm relatively recent into it if you want to go by time, and I've met a person who can do that longer. So yeah,
there's a couple of people who've done 12-minute handstands, but what was that?
16 something. What's that?
The winning one.
Yeah.
Man, 16 minutes sounds like a long time.
That would be so painful, man. So painful. You want to run this one, bruh?
Yeah.
Coolies. So.
Well, I will, given it's my topic. But I'm assuming you've got a couple of notes.
I've not as much as I normally do, to be honest.
I had 0 notes about an hour ago, but okay. I thought I'd put some notes down. In fact, but I actually thought I don't think I need any notes for this.
Okay, good. Well, it was one of those ones where it was like...
You could it would be probably almost better just to be free-flowing, to be honest.
Yeah, I wasn't particularly sure what you wanted to...
talk about specifically.
Yeah, it was kind of a little bit vague. It didn't have a
I wanted it to be a little bit vague.
That's cool. I enjoy this. All right, well, let's do it, man. Let me actually just check that our sound is actually coming through on YouTube. Because when I don't check that is when bad things happen.
Good.
All right, that sounds good. Here we go. Redo.
Good.
I don't know why that is not recording.
Good.
Let's try again. That looks better.
Welcome back, Me Immortalites, to another edition of the Me Immortals podcast. We've got musings today where we talk on a specific topic, something that is front of mind that we want to converse on, go a little bit deeper than our usual meandering sessions. You've got one on one side of the mic.
Karen here on this side of the mic.
And we are live for those who are listening to us at the moment over on YouTube. But of course, if you're listening to the audio version or just watching this at a later time, then we also welcome you from wherever you are in the world. Today's topic, and I'm just going to call it out specifically of what I want to talk about. Let me just bring this up because I just hid away. Was being switched on, or the ability or the fact of switching on. And why did I think of this particular topic? Was last week there was a podcast that we were doing. I think it might have been this like the musings of last week's musings.
Okay.
Where
what were we talking about last week?
We were talking about, it was a particular topic that was hard for us to converse about.
Oh, hypotheticals.
Hypotheticals, and I was just focused on my phone. For that particular podcast, I was also
one of our worst ones.
Yeah, I think it was just
of recent memory.
Yeah, it was
fuck
just
you, reasons and persons. You're even affecting my podcast.
Exactly.
You shit ass book.
So maybe it'll come into fruition with this calling of being switched on, because mine as well. Probably half an hour before that, I just felt tired, dude. I was really tired, and I was annoyed with the phone. I was trying to almost just go to bed. I'm like, I'm done. And in my mind, I went, oh, should I have a coffee? Like, should I have a coffee to switch on, to kind of turn on, to be like, okay, actually be on point to actually do these things. And I guess that's probably the idea where it came from, to talk about the ability of being switched on. So I wanted to traverse fitness being switched on. I wanted to talk about being a bit meta. So like with the podcast, what we do to be switched on, or to be, in the game. Because we still have it up there, that paper on the wall from like 2 years ago of, before we start a podcast, what do we do to make sure that we're, in the right state of mind, or doing the right thing?
There was technical stuff written on there, such as, make sure the mics are switched on, make sure the windows are closed, lights, cameras, all those sorts of things, like the basic stuff. And then it was also, how do we want to come into it, and mindset wise,
exactly. So and I think I will try to define it in my own way. So because if we Google this, I was actually Googling it, and I was like, so many things. No. I went, no.
I don't think that'd be useful.
So at least in the scope of what I wanted to talk about is being switched on is where you have a conscious effort to spend most of your energy on the activity or the action that you're trying to do in a betterment way, in a good way, in any way that you want to describe it. That's what I would say you're switched on. So it's not necessarily that you're possessed in a way that you're only doing that and you're doing maximal energy, but you're exerting quite a bit of energy in the right way, in a good focus, so you can get the right outcomes.
I would have said probably even easier, just concentrated.
Sure.
That's how I pretty much view it. So,
Yep. So that's fine. So that's sort of the lay ground, and I'll probably for anyone listening live at the moment as well, I will ask the first question to ask is to you, and so as well to any more lights who are listening out there. I was going to say, do you think there is a problem with always being switched on? And so why that particular thing just wanted to start with was the example of an actor or someone who's famous. Now, here at the Mere Mortals, we're not famous, right? And I don't actually ever want to be famous. I don't ever want to be famous. I hope we get there. But do you sometimes see the people who are ultra famous, let's say Zac Efron, Selena Gomez, wrestlers, any type of individual, Elon Musk, there's almost an expectation from society of them, even if it's wanted or not wanted, that they should be on. Like, they should be the person who you expect them to be in some way, shape, or form. And so when I thought about that, I went, man, that just sounds bad. Like to have to be switched on almost 24/7 seems like it would be too much of an effort. It'd be a terrible pain. But in your day-to-day life, so we're not famous, do you think that being switched on all the time is a bad thing for you?
I wouldn't even know what that feels like. Okay. I don't think I've ever been in a state where I could say, I've been switched on for even close to 5 hours. Because if I'm thinking about concentration, I'm just really struggling to think of where I would have been concentrated on something for 5 hours plus. Like that doesn't equal something that I've done in my head. So even just what you were talking about though, the aspect of what you were mentioning also includes some other things, which is, expectations of things like that. But I was actually recently chatting with a friend's girlfriend, and she was just talking about how she got COVID and had to go back to work. The person that she was meant to be training up to help her out, it was her second day, and then she got COVID. So then it was sort of like, okay, now I'm actually spending. It's one of those ones where it's like to get a load off your plate, you need to do more work.
Yep.
And so she was just saying how she's been basically like still semi-sick, going to work at 6 a.m., returning home at 1:30, sleeping, getting up, going to work. And that was just like, oh, okay, that sounds kind of switched on to me in a way where you're just constantly doing something like that's it's switched on. Now, she probably there's no way you'd be 100% concentrated.
No, I don't want to define switched on as being like you're 100%. It can be, as I was saying, it's a high level of concentration, not complete.
Yeah, but I would say, yes, she's been switched on this last week, and man, it sounded shit. It sounded like a really shitty week. Yeah. So, a blanket statement being thrown out, yeah, sure. Being switched on all the time wouldn't appeal to me, for sure.
And that's what I'm trying to, and one of the reasons I was asking, I wanted to ask someone first about whole of being switched on, because for you, maybe from an external perspective, the way I see it, it feels like you are switched on through like a day. So when I see you,
like if you look at me,
if you look at it, like you go and do whereas you're brushing your teeth, like you're getting that done, you're switched on because you're focused in doing that.
Yeah,
and you're listening to like a podcast or something. You're switched on.
Yeah.
Then you'll get into podcasting or you'll get into German practice. So you're switched on. Now, I guess the way that you were describing of concentration for 5 hours plus, in a way you are, but you're shifting between things. So you're going you'll be focused for 45 minutes and do German practice. Then you'll do 2 hours of podcasting. Then you might have a half-hour break of just chilling out, watching shit. But then you'll do 1 hour of stretching. Then you'll do 3 hours of handstands. And I guess you're doing switched on in a way. Not 100% concentration, but you're highly concentrated when you're doing those things. It's probably only for you at the end of the day when you're relaxing. So, because I guess the perspective I want to give folks here when I'm talking about as mere mortals, why I think it's switched on. I think if you were to say, oh no, I'm not really, I don't know what that is like to be switched off, I guess. I feel like for the general population, they would think, oh, so Kyron was probably just like watching a show or watching Netflix. Or just scrolling, doing mindless things.
Yeah.
But to me, the definition of switch on is like, it just feels like Kyron's always bam, 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 doing the things that he's like planned.
Yeah, you know what? You could put it that way because it's not that when I'm here at this location that we're in now, like the studio, this house, you're right. There's not ever a time where I don't know what I'm doing in essence. So yeah, my routine is pretty structured in the sense that there's an order I like to do things. So it doesn't really matter to me if I wake up at 9 like I did today or some days at 7:30. But it's as long as the order is roughly the same of get up, go to the bathroom, clean teeth, stretch, German, exercise, come back, shower, podcast, dinner. That's essentially my life. And then throwing in things like going to a friend's birthday party or other stuff like that. So yeah, you know what, you could maybe describe it that way. But it certainly doesn't feel like it's. I wouldn't compare myself to what you were talking about with the actors and things like that, where it's a real. Maybe it's. I'm struggling with it because it doesn't feel super conscious now because I've locked it into the routine.
Yeah. So and I guess one of the points that I wrote down in my mind to try and describe it, because I was thinking about the whole being switched on as an actor in comparison to what I would describe there for you, but I guess it's not a conscious switch on, which, punchline, I think, to be like, yes, I agree that being switched on all the time is a good thing, as long as it's natural, it's almost subconscious. And what I had written down is being switched on probably for a long time, but not being you is probably the worst thing.
Okay,
so if it's away from your natural instincts or your natural being, then holy hell, you're going to have an absolute toughest time to be switched on doing that. So I could imagine an example that if we were to be asked to do something completely polar opposite to what we do, I don't know, ice skating or dancing or presenting or acting.
Learning MATLAB.
Something weird that we don't know. If someone said to us, like, okay, you got to be switched on and concentrated without, much prompting, we would struggle. Like, we would struggle hardcore to be focused, to really be wanting to do it, perhaps. And if you try to do it a lot of the time, okay, you're going probably away with either what you're naturally wanting to do or what you're passionate about, etc. And that's why I see it in acting as a sort of an easy example. There's probably lots of others where if it's away from the natural being or you're having to consciously be switched on, that's when it's probably going to be a lot harder. And so I know that's so for yours, I think in my mind you have lots of subconscious switching on, which when I want to ask a couple more questions. And I feel like it will feel to you like they're not the ways that you switch on, but they are to get you to do the things.
I wrote down a couple of things where I was like, the personal sort of switching on stuff.
Exactly, so, which I think, which will be interesting. So I was like, okay, I think you have some which are just naturally what you do and you're enjoying doing, and they might not feel like they're the switch on, but they're the switch on for sure. So for me today, so here's an example of a concentrated switch on, and then I'll get an example from you of how it feels unconsciously, I guess. So for me, just before this podcast, I'm tired. I had probably 400 grams of pasta and like so much meat in like a meal I just had before. So of course I'm going to be like carb loaded, tired. I'm also just tired generally. So last night I didn't sleep too much. So I thought, okay, do I get a coffee? Do I get a tea? I looked in the fridge and I saw there's some Coke there, some Pepsi Max. So I thought Pepsi Max, add a little bit of 12-year-old whiskey on top of it as well. Nice. A couple of ice cubes. And I thought, okay, that's going to be my switching on. So I got it, sipped a little bit, made some notes, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm more switched on, but it was conscious.
Yeah.
In the sense that I had to put extra effort into it. It has helped, I believe, in doing the podcast because before I would have been a little bit more tired and I was able to write some notes. So that's my conscious one. But if I had to do everything in life to switch on like that, man, I'd just be wasted. I'd just be so tired from doing that.
Yeah. That's not a small.
Oh yeah, it's a huge imposition on like life to be switched on in that way. Whereas I guess maybe a question for you, and I don't know if you've already written down, before you do a handstand, like a handstand session, what's your process, I guess, that before you actually get into doing a handstand?
Yeah, okay. There's the kind of funny thing where it's you can look at it like the macro versus the micro. So in the macro day that I've got, there's not a whole lot that I'm really consciously doing. It's sort of like, like I mentioned, the beautiful thing about a routine is it's just there. It's not, yes, you have to spend time and effort creating it, but once it's going, it's sort of like those little wind-up toys. You roll it back. There's a bit of effort pulled, but then you let it go, and it just goes. And it can just go and go and go.
But even though it's a routine, so correctly, it is a routine, and it just becomes intrinsically part of what you do, which is totally fine. It is still the way that you switch on, or at least get to focus into it. Because I could see, even if say tomorrow you were going to do a handstand workout and you didn't do any of that preparatory work. It would be harder for you to focus in and do the handstand work that you want to do just because you don't have that lead up into it.
For sure. Yeah, there's plenty of things such as when the routine gets broken. So if it's rainy weather, for example, and I need to do a workout in the garage, it seems so simple that you just think, okay, why wouldn't you just go in there? But it becomes like stressful in a way because it's, okay, it's going to be kind of cold in here. I'll have to, where am I going to actually put the stuff? I'll probably have to sweep it out first. So, I'm not handstanding on leaves and crap like that. And I think when it's those sorts of ones, that's when a conscious effort of really sitting down and being like thinking through, okay, what are the 10 steps that needs to happen so that I'm now doing what I just normally do, which is going up into the handstand. So yeah, like I mentioned, there's 8 different things. Need to open the garage door, let some light in so I'm not in a sort of like little cave going on.
Yep.
You're sweeping it out, setting out my stuff in the correct manner, am I like clothed enough because now it's going to be too hot or too cold or things like that. So in that sort of sense, I'd probably say like, all right, I need time to think and sort of sort it out in my brain and go, okay, this is going to take perhaps longer than it normally does. But then when it goes to like the real micro thing, like for a handstand, actually getting into it, do you use much? There's a silly question because I do know you do it. I don't know what it's called, but it's sort of like a mini set routine that you do for yourself every single time before you do an exercise. Yeah. So well, I've seen you do it with squats. For me, I sort of do a thing with handstands right at the start of the set because I can't. If you abuse it too much, it like loses its power, I feel.
Yep.
So right at the start of a set where it's like, I'm fresh, I really want to do some handstand push-ups and they're bloody hard. I can only get, I've done 3 reps unbroken. That was my max. And I've done that twice, I think. So most of the time I'm doing 1 or 2 reps and those reps bloody count. So I want to be concentrated.
Yep.
So for those ones, I sort of, stand still, usually like close my eyes, take a breath, sort of like bring my arms up, bring them down to the ground, sort of set myself, and then go into it. And I've seen you do the same thing with squats. Heavy squats. So that, I guess, would be a switching on tactic, I guess. I don't know what it's called, where you move your body in a set manner. Sort of imagine people who were doing, yoga or Tai Chi or I believe in even sort of Zen masters and things like that. They do a small movement and that triggers it. There's actually a cool anime called Hunter x Hunter. And there's this badass scene, one of the best anime fight scenes you'll see, where it's this guy who's sort of got like this Buddha god power called Netero or Netero, whatever. The first one sounded better. Yeah, and basically every time that he fights and he uses his power, he brings his hand together in sort of a prayer, and then this is what allows like the power to unlock, and then he can do it. But every single time he needs to do this thing. That sort of concept.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and so he touches on a few. So that specific point, it touches on one, like the repetitiveness of a particular thing. So I guess we're talking about now physical, but it could also be other things where it's work.
Yeah, you can do a mental one. A similar sort of thing that I'll do is like if I'm coming into German, and even funnily enough to sleep, I always have to turn my phone down. Because even you can get that little flashing light. I keep mine on Do Not Disturb all the time, but turn it down, and that sort of like triggers. Okay, it's sleep time now, or it's German time now. Bam, phone down. So that sort of act as well. It's not super physical, is I guess, but you could do mental versions of that, which is like recall this thought. Okay, now that's put me in like happy state of mind. Now I'm going to go on stage and present and, do my comedy show or something like that.
Exactly. And I think to the micro commentary, yes, for squats, so I'll normally do the positioning of the feet, the like back stance, the movement, the going underneath. So there's like particular movements that I'll do for switching on. There'll be the visualization aspects, which I can do. I'll do in most sort of lifts, especially with like heavy lifts where you'll try to, before the lift, really be like, okay, what's this going to look like? What's it going to move? Almost feeling the muscles as they're moving. Not that I do it too much myself, but as an example of, I've noticed some people say that the CrossFit workouts or even in just not fit stop or something like that, before, the timer will come down, 10 seconds to go. It'll be 3, 2, 1, begin. I'd like the 3 seconds mark, you'll hear them go like, woo-wee! Or something like that, right? To be like, okay, like, let's go. Like almost really like a war cry sort of feeling of, yep, let's get into it. So I think a lot of those things can serve to switch on. Easy stuff is, music. I was asking this question through the week, asking different people, going to be talking about switching on. How do you do that? Whether it's you need to finish off an assignment, you're trying to submit something, you're going to work, you're going to the gym. Pretty much everyone that I asked was, good music, loud music, straight through like headphones. Specifically, everybody said not listening it to like open, but directly into their headphones, not like listening to music out loud. Okay. And I was like, that's a little bit different. So I know you listen to music openly. Not that you use that for like any type of switching on, but I'll get to something in a moment around that. But I would agree that music for me, for sure, can do it in different ways, whether it comes to working. Actually, really recently, I have found myself having to actually do a lot of work. Surprise, shock, and awe. I know. God. But here's a method that is probably familiar to a lot of people, if not mere mortalites out there. If you haven't, I completely and utterly recommend this, is trying to do the Pomodoro technique, which is normally 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off of work, or you can do 45 minutes on, 5 minutes off, any sort of variation around that. There is I'm going to get this wrong. I think it's the Ultradian Rhythm. So normally the body runs on Ultradian rhythms and circadian rhythm. Circadian is 24 hours. Ultradian is 90 minutes. So there is a conversation to be had that you're doing bursts of work. Now this could be training. This could be something that's mentally challenging, your normal sort of work, anything in between, roughly trying to work to Ultradian rhythms. So you could get 4 90-minute sessions in a day type of deal. Okay. Can make you the most productive. So I've
never even heard of this thing before.
Ultradian rhythms.
How do you spell it?
Bring it Ultra. So circadian, Ultradian. So Ultradian. Okay. So if you type that in, you'll probably bring it up. I hadn't heard about it for just recently. It's something that actually came across, the Ultradian rhythms. So for me, switching on around Ultradian rhythms using the Pomodoro technique from a work perspective has worked absolute wonders, dude. Because sometimes I'll feel like I'm not super productive and I'll find myself smashing so much work during. And specifically for me, I have found that it works well when I'm putting the timer with a combination of music, normally something calming like rain, or it's like rain and music, or a little bit of cafe noises. And so what I'll try to normally do is I'll use either a 25 or 45 minute. And what I try to aim for is 45 minutes of work, 5 minutes of chill out where I just walk around, do whatever, do another 45 minute session, 5 minutes break. And that hits my like ultradian first rhythm. Cool. And then I'll go and do something else, just chill out before I kind of get back into it.
Gotcha. Okay. So there's I'll put this on the screens for those who are listening to this chapter, and it says, if I go to Google and just read out in chronobiology, cool name, an ultradian, so ultra and then DIAN rhythm is a recurrent period or cycle repeated throughout a 24-hour day. In contrast, circadian rhythms complete one cycle daily, while infraradian rhythms such as the human menstrual cycle have periods longer than a day.
Correct, yeah. So the whole premise of this switching on, so there's, we'll get broader, circadian rhythms, to be switched on for a whole day. There's a whole conversation of when you wake up, within the first half an hour, trying to get sunlight directly into the eyeballs, not even through windows, but trying to get through the eyeballs, because the actual, not like staring at the sun,
you're saying
folks.
I should stare at the sun.
We're saying no glasses, no window, trying to have some sort of sunlight coming through to your pupils. Why that is because believe it or not, your eyes and the retinas and everything that's behind your eyeballs, it's actually part of your brain, because it's directly connected to your brain. And a lot of those photon receptors serve to move a lot of chemical reactions in your brain to actually get them to work. So there's all these things from a switching on from a day perspective that you could be doing, both that and then switching off at night. But at least I guess I'm getting specific to like ultradian rhythms and being focused for 90 minutes. Because going beyond those ultradian rhythms, it's actually quite hard for humans just in general to be able to be focused beyond 90 minutes. So when you hear some people say, I worked for 4 hours straight.
4 hours deep work or whatever.
You probably didn't. Yeah, there's almost no way that you did 4 hours of deep work. You probably did 40 minutes, 50 minutes, took a 10-minute break, or just kind of like thought about something else and then go back into it for sure. Or it wasn't as productive as it could have been. So again, fairly new. I haven't really, if you want to actually check out more ultradian rhythm stuff, Andrew Huberman talks about it a lot in a lot of his podcasts, and I'm starting from literally the beginning, so I'm back in like 2021 podcast, so maybe he's talked about it more, or maybe more stuff's been learned about it or been talked about, but very new. I don't hear many people talk about that particular perspective. So at least for me, Pomodoro technique and specifically, so if anyone wants to copy this, I literally go to YouTube, I type in Pomodoro, 45-minute music background noise, and it'll get me, there's like heaps of like Japanese versions of it.
Yeah.
And it'll have a video of someone kind of working with some sort of ensemble of cafe style or rain or something of a mixture. And I'll just have that playing with the video sort of slightly showing somewhere. And I don't know what it is about that, but it makes me work like incredibly productively. Like I can just smash work, whatever I'm doing, get super focused. Put the phone away, put whatever away. And when the timer goes off, cool, I'll chill out. 5 minutes, I'll go bathroom, check my phone, have a bit of food, come back and do a second session. And genuinely, in 2 Pomodoro technique sessions, I'll get basically all my work done. So I'm like, cool, done, then go do whatever else I want. So that's from a switch-on perspective on ultradian rhythms. So
there you go.
A little bit different.
Yeah.
All right, we might take a little pause there. We'll do a little bit of the Boostagram
Lounge. You know what? I might even
pop it up
because we're doing it. I'm gonna play the music. I'm going to play the music.
Oh, okay.
So I'm stealing this from the Value for Value. This will be a rare one, people. I don't normally bring this one up, but here we go.
Bring it up.
Boostagram Lounge.
Welcome to the Value for Value Boostagram Lounge.
It's hot. Hot. So yes, we got the Boostagram Lounge. I don't actually know where I'm going to be looking at this because I haven't checked the Boostagram thing for a little while. So I should be from the
date-wise,
the 1st of July. No,
26th.
The 26th of
June.
June. Very good. All right, and we got a big boy there. A big boy.
Yeah, boy.
Whew. So we got received donation. Petar R.E. Lying. There was a period in my life where I was painfully honest. Oh, no, hold on, sorry. You've read this out.
I have.
You have read this out. So
maybe
it'll be the next one. Yes, it's the unrealistic hypothetical. So this is from Petar. He sent 50,000
boy
on Fountain. Man, this dude is just cranking it.
Yeah.
Petar.
Much appreciated, Peter.
Always appreciate it, my good sir. He says, unrealistic hypothetical. thought experiments used to help one figure out how to think about personal identity. It seems like the exact opposite of effective philosophy. Parfit teaches us ineffective philosophy. I agree.
It teaches us ineffective philosophy. Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. That's pretty funny. Yeah. So he's referring there to my, and I referenced this right near the start as well, the Reasons in Persons, the book Reasons in Persons by Derek Parfit. It's just a philosophical, very, very deep, lots of hypotheticals in it. And look, if I think it's probably not worth reading because it's just like fucked up a bunch of things. Like it's that podcast we did, I was so unsatisfied afterwards with it.
One of the things, so I'm going to give away a couple of bits and bobs here, and if anyone takes this, feel free to, whatever. So I've heard you talk a lot about philosophy, right?
Yeah.
And I've gone, this all just sounds, I get the premise and I get the concepts in a way. I don't know them deeply, but I go, this sounds like a lot of shit to like listen to or read to. Like I don't want to read it. I get it. I get the philosophizing on things is good and fine and well, but like specifically to as Peter says, if it's ineffective philosophy, at that point, it feels like wasted energy. Like, okay, you can elaborate on the fact of what a rat's emotions might be if the moon exploded. But holy hell, does it affect you? Like, is it effective in any way, shape, or form? Like, it isn't.
Good hypothetical.
So I go, exactly, but I go, one of the other pieces actually that I've got down likely for my next year goals is I want to read all of Ryan Holiday stuff. Because I was like, do I want to go and read a lot of, like, go and read all the stuff from the Greeks, which I haven't. Like, I know about it, but I don't know specifically about Epicurus and Marcus Aurelius and all that. Now, I've heard
you'll enjoy the modern version more.
So I was like, okay, still. If I want to go through all of Ryan Holiday's books that are based on that and I guess summarized in newer sort of terminology, maybe I'll really enjoy that. But honestly, after listening to that and thinking about that too, I went, dude, if there's not an effective philosophy book out there right now, there should be. Because I think that would be a really good, that would be a good read. I would enjoy reading a book that's philosophical, that's effective. So then I was like...
Bestseller.
So I'm thinking, I was like, look, the mere mortals are going to create this book probably in like 7 years. So if you got a time ahead of you if you want to create it and make a New York's bestseller.
I do remember both of us, I think, saying we wouldn't become writers. Or it was like, if we had to write a book, what would it be?
But to be honest, it would be about effective philosophy. So if I had to write, I'm calling it right now. So if someone's listening to this podcast in 2029 and you look back on this, if I'm going to write a book, it's about effective philosophy. 100 million %.
Yeah. Well,
the Immortals philosophy.
You know, it's funny, man. So when I was, so we're getting slightly off topic here, but hell, that's what we do. Mm-hmm. So one of my goals for this month was to find one more philosophy book. So I said I'd read 6 this year of what I deem like classic philosophy. Mm-hmm. So as in, you say the author's name and you're like, that's a philosopher.
Yeah.
Friedrich Nietzsche, that's a philosopher. Heidegger, that's a philosopher. Derek Parfit. And I was actually just typing in, okay, like, look, I'm going to try and make this as least painful as possible because the sort of 5 that I've read so far, they just haven't been really up to scratch per se. I haven't loved them. And so... I just typed in, like best philosophy books, greatest philosophy books. It's funny, but I've pretty much read a whole bunch of them without particularly thinking it. So obviously all of the Greeks, like I've read most of their works, like Seneca, Aurelius, Epictetus. I still need to get to Zeno, and then there's the sort of more Eastern one. So there's like Zhuangzi or the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu.
Yep.
So a bunch of those ones. More modern stuff, which you'd be saying is like maybe Sam Harris and things like that. So I was going through and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's sort of like I'm getting... I've already filtered out and liked quite a bunch of them, and I'm just now getting to the ones which didn't draw me in per se anyway.
Yeah.
And that are
That's
just...
a good point.
So basically I've found like another 8 different ones, and I've just like reserved them all at the library. I'm gonna go pick them up, and I'll just try bits and pieces, like be really ruthless and be like, if it doesn't capture me within the first 5 pages,
nah,
I'm cutting it out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I like that. But again,
So,
Peter, thank you very much.
Over.
Thank you for the comment, Peter. Totally agree and appreciate the stats always.
Yeah.
Dave Jones says, great topic, guys. I'm assuming that's on the unrealistic hypothetical, which is amazing that you sent that because we just thought that it probably wasn't the top quality conversation
Dave's
that we normally expect.
Dave's a philosophical guy, so I think even
he is.
He'd maybe like appreciate it even if we weren't super clear with our words.
Yeah, I think just thinking about it at all, I do feel like there would be a great conversation, debate to be had, and not by us, perhaps by good debaters like a Sam Harris or somebody else on effective philosophy, like the value of an effective philosophy versus effective philosophy, and why it's like just worthless to even go down the path of, again, fantasizing on this unrealistic shit.
Yeah.
Here's another one. So this is from Brando Sellers. Great episode, guys. Thanks for featuring the SLIEK podcast on Valley for Valley and for the smooth voice comment from Juan.
Oh, yeah.
3,333 sats and using Fountain.
There you go.
One.
So that's the strangest life I've ever known podcast for those who are wondering.
Here's another one from Brando Sellers. And that was from Fountain. There's another one using Fountain boosting to increase my ranking on the leaderboard. Man.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to bring that up right now.
Let's just bring that up because we did talk about this on the monthly goals. But if you haven't checked it out, we have talked about it a few times. We're trying to...
And you know what? We didn't particularly shout him out for being a legend. And
that's true.
He was actively trying to jump up the board.
Yeah, which was awesome. So, look, it's specifically... I think the reason I really wanted to do this in the whole principle of Valley for Valley is that we're trying to be transparent, right? We're trying to be super transparent as well with... I asked you this question around some of the other podcasts in 2.0, big... podcasts are out there. I'm like, how many have they gotten? How many sats are they getting? Like, what are the sort of values? I mean, you can get, I guess, some numbers, but not really fully transparent. Now, in the whole philosophy of blockchain in general, right? It's all open. You can actually go and find this whenever you want, wherever you want. So,
although Lightning Network is not particularly open, like it's kind of designed to be a little bit
obscure. More obscure. Okay,
yeah,
fair. But I guess in this particular instance, what we're trying to say, and for Brando Sellers, jumping up on the board there, we're trying to just showcase to you two things. Obviously, the leaderboard to make it a little bit of an engaging game for you guys, but two, just to see the individuals who are supporting, listening, streaming, all the like, makes the podcast go round. Yeah. So it's good.
So he's jumped up to number 8th, and he would have been, I can't remember where he was. I'm not even sure he'd boosted before this last month. Yeah. So he's...
And what I also wanted to play around with, and I'm just throwing it out in here because we're just going wild on this particular episode, but on the way the Fountain does it as well, I wanted to do perhaps like a month where we'll go, okay, for this particular podcast or episode or whatnot, if you specifically send the podcast and send this particular comment here, we will manually count it as double or something like that on the leaderboard, or we'll change your color. We'll put a specific thing on the leaderboard to be they listened to like this episode this month, that earns them a red flag or something like that, and we'll specifically call it something like that, which I think would be good fun.
Not a red flag, perhaps like a green thumbs up,
something like that, something different.
Red flags usually got a pretty bad connotation.
But anyways,
yes, screw it. We're too deep. We're gonna keep adding additional stuff. So recently, as in today, on the Mastodon, one of the guys was like, and this was Abel Kirby, and he says, I've been. Let me find the exact one, which
I've heard this guy's name.
Yeah, so I've mentioned him a fair few times before because he's pretty cool. So basically, he said it's alive. The beta leaderboard of streams plus boosts, boostagrams for rare encounter, and he's got a link to abelkirby.com/leaderboard HTML. So if I bring that up, this is his general thing. Like it's not as pretty as our one,
but it's alive. But it's alive.
But he's created one for himself, and even on the latest Podcasting 2.0, it came up right at the end, and I was wondering, like, I send a Boostagram to 2.0 every single week, so I just want to engage with them, like it's fun, like I like hearing my name on there, all of these things, and I was nothing had really jumped out at me where I was like, man, I need to add my little input to this, and then right at the end. Someone said something about a leaderboard, and Adam Curry was like, yeah, man, I love that shit. I could hear the excitement in his voice. Yeah. So I was like, bam, example, sending the link to our one in a Boostagram saying like, this is what we do. This is why we do it. Here's an example.
Good to talk about it on the podcast? Or
so they'll talk about it on the next one.
I'd be keen to see that as well. So for those as well, as you're seeing on the screen, what I'm looking to also build out for the Mere Mortals here is that probably you won't see it next month, but I'm thinking the next month afterwards, I will have at least 3 months worth of data. And I'll slightly change that supporter. No, I'll probably keep the supporter ranking at the bottom still there, but I'm going to add a visual graph to actually show some of that growth and changes. So when we're talking about, month by month, who was the in that particular month, there'll be a leaderboard for that month. It'll not just be total, but a particular month. Because we might find that Petar will just run away with it. So I want to also be able to provide value to those who are like, who's each month actually succeeding. And even more to that point, we've also got shirts for 100,000 sats. I actually want to make it, if you're that month's winner, we could pull it back a little bit and be like, I don't know if I like stickers, but we can make something fun that we can just send like a small little piece and be like, okay, cool, you get this, or it might be digital. We'll see.
I want to blow your mind with a little thing here. So 2 news as well. One is I created the value for value latest one. I did on our own show. So I did I was going to do it on agenda. Then I'm like, look, if I'm promoting this, I should be doing it for myself. Like there's something I suck at, so let's not fuck it up, Karen. You can do this properly. So I did it on our own show, so basically you can promote your show on Fountain now, and essentially like I chucked in 100 US, so 120 whatever that is Australian. That will be promoted on the front screen. So it'd actually be interesting if you bring up Fountain and if you see like our own one being
I'll have to re-download it.
Oh, okay. In any case, I've done that. So if you listen to us on Fountain, you're going to be getting sats directly.
You're going to be getting money. You're going to be getting money.
So take this opportunity while it lasts, people.
Go get money from us. We're literally giving you money. So
and in any case, so I just did that, and then I was just like looking around on Fountain, just playing around, and so. They've had this profile page for ages, and I remember there was a time where I was just following every single new person I saw. So you can, people create clips, who to follow down the bottom, and I would just click every single person. And there was a point where I had every single person who was on there.
Love.
And then I just recently went onto my own profile here. I looked at 39 following, and I always had maybe half of that people following me back. It's jumped up to 415 people following me, and I just went like,
wow, okay.
what the shit? Now I've created a lot of clips on here. I'm up to 95 clips, but I wouldn't say I've been particularly active. But look, even one of the clips I created, which was of podcasting 2.0, and I said content creators seeing immediate results of people valuing their work. That means 61 people have clicked that and then click like the like button and send me 10 sats, man.
Love. That's a lot. That's to be honest, especially
that's not nothing.
That's not nothing in this space. Like that's cool to see.
And 1,000 podcasts joined the value for value just last month as well, taking it up to 8,000. So it's like a 10%, more than 10% growth in 1 month.
Yeah,
which is,
that's awesome. It's good, man.
And fucking because we're here, how long ago was the very first Boostagram sent? Question for you.
It would have been 7 months ago.
Okay.
Hold on, what are we in? I'm saying November 2021 would be my guess.
So not too bad. It was, I think, the 7th, so 4 days from now, I believe is a year of the very first one being sent through. So the stuff's all, it's less than a year old, and like it's changed.
To be honest, and to say this truly, we could make a post or a comment on like how to go from 0 to 1 million sats.
Yeah, man. 100%. 100%.
Serious. And we're the shit we're telling you, me more lights, we're the shittest promoters quite generally on this thing. So, who are the guys who are just smashing it? They came on to
Strangest Life I've Ever Known.
Strangest Life, the SLIEK podcast. Yeah, just like they just dove straight in, just kind of amazing.
Yeah, I do find it funny that even though I'm the one who's like really pushed it hard on our front, I'd say you're the one who's created like the most impactful thing for us, which is the
well, but again, and this goes to a whole conversation of Web3 and blockchain and cryptocurrency. I think it's going to be the combination of bringing it to the existing things that people know about, and like showing them that space in like a bit of that 2.5 connection where it's like, hey, we're operating in, with blockchains and Lightning Network and etc. But let us connect you in some ways to like normal websites and the like, so you can still partake in it and apparel and all these sort of things.
Yeah.
So it'll be good. I'm keen for it.
Apologies for the detour people, but it needs
I'm not apologizing. Fuck this. This is what you get.
Fuck it, this is my podcast.
Exactly. Here's another one from Dave Jones, and look, big call out from Dave here. That Petar boost blew my mind, and his message was an excellent one. So I think that's in reference to this.
Yeah, basically he was saying, so unfortunately with Fountain, I haven't seen this myself, but there's been a couple of things on there which have apparently been tending towards the scammy side, perhaps. And so, yeah, Peter's boost, the 5 million sats, was essentially saying, be careful with your Bitcoin, self-custody, like the general rules. We're doing this, like this stuff's going to explode, and you need, like, don't forget the principles, don't forget sort of where you came from, I guess.
Exactly. Do you want to swap out of that website just to show us and thoroughly thinking that, people are not seeing us right now. If there's, no, because we're like in a little corner, aren't we?
I'm back on the.
Good. Now here's it. So Dave saying, "Yep, the Peter boost blew my mind. His message was an excellent one. As this stuff matures, it's so necessary to have these discussions and warnings. I'm really grateful he brought that up, and that's 2,112 sats using Castomatic.
Rush boost. Thank you, Dave.
Super agree that it's needed to understand, and it's maturing. So I hope that in a couple of years' time, we're going to see 300 Boostagrams come through and new people again into the space. And like I was talking to Meanderings, when I got somebody, like I onboarded my sister into it, and all of a sudden there was like multiple scams coming at her and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it takes a little bit to just understand and get used to it. Here's another one yesterday from Peter, 50,000 cents sent using Fountain.
Peter.
Damn. Great episode. Promoting your show seems perfectly fine to me.
Thank you, because I did do that.
Yeah. Even some advertising is fine if you acutely represent your product and
I think it
disclose the
accurately.
risks. Accurately, and then disclose the risks involved. Where it starts to feel shady is when you start lying to your listeners about how much you enjoy a certain product that you personally have no real interest in. Agree. Once an actor does a commercial, to quote the great Bill Hicks, you're a corporate whore. You're off the artistic roll call forever, and everything you say is suspect. 100% agree, which is why you might see one day, like I'm telling you, you will never see me promoting Cover Club on this podcast. And I will shit on them every time I can. But it's not to say that I might not find...
you'll have to listen to the upcoming Meanderings to get that reference, people.
But you'll see that, for me, like there might be a brand, like say VFriends from an NFT perspective, or there might be something that comes along and I'm like, ooh, actually, do you believe in that? Hell, I might call them out in here. If they send us sats, they might give us money, whatever it may be. But because it is something that we believe in. So I don't actually mind the advertising model if it's something that you believe in and it's not impacting the viewers and value. Cool, whatever. I get that. In fact, there was a ad on Tom Bilyeu's podcast that I'm listening to right now, and he has a ton of ads. Love Tom Bilyeu, good guy. Hate the amount of ads he puts.
Yeah.
Goddamn. But there was one ad, and it was an old ad because it was referring to 2021. Okay. However, the particular conversation that he was having about it, and the fact you could tell he cared about it. 2, it actually aligned to a lot of things that he was doing and talking about. It made me somewhat like that, listening to that piece. So I was like, I can kind of see myself using that product, perhaps. Now I'm not going to do it. But it was like a well-intended ad. I liked it.
Yeah.
Most of the times, it's just like, you're talking about some random bullshit, and it's like, okay, that's crap.
Yeah, so, I'm slightly changing my views in some cases for this. So, which I think is, I dislike the model, but I can appreciate the individual ways that it sort of is manifested. So, for example, there's been some bloody great TV ads. Favorite of all time for me is It's a Big Ad, which was for Carlton Draft, I believe.
Yeah.
Which was just this epic, people running, forming the shape of a face, drinking, like it's just such awesome music going over it.
That's good.
So original. That sort of shit, hell yeah, I'm all for that. And also even, I'm actually finding that podcasts which have ads in them, I don't mind as long as they have chapters demarcated so that I can look and then I can go, I don't actually want to listen to that. I'm going to skip to this next bit.
Yes.
As long as it has those two things, I'm sort of like, Okay. I won't. I'm not such a fanatical that it's like
cannot have any of that.
If you do anything that's closely related to an ad, I'm like disowning you and never getting back into this again, sort of thing. No. As long as there's like some reasonability in it,
then it's okay. Yeah. Yep. And finally, to round this out for the Boostagram Lounge, we got Dave Jones once again. He says, "My weekly boost for the Mere Mortal Light Nation." 12,112 sats.
Hey, that's
very using
nice.
Cron.
Yeah, so I got to tell you about this. So
using Cron.
This is some very cool shit, which is Dave has been saying recently his son had a motorcycle accident. And so he hasn't been able to consume podcasts as much as he normally does. And he actually was sort of, he was kind of like proud that he listens to like an hour of podcast a day. And I'm like, Dave, get on my level, mate. That's nothing. Although I could have misheard, and he could have been saying he's been reduced to an hour a day.
Okay.
I'll give some leeway. In either case, thank you, Dave, for sending stats. I'm not going to talk shit about you. But basically what he was saying was he wishes that he actually could have had something like PayPal, which is one of the good things about PayPal is you can have monthly donations. So something you set and forget. So you don't have, even though you appreciate this thing, you don't want to go to the effort every single time of going, like I forgot this week or I got busy this week, but you still want to show your appreciation. So what this Cron is, and I have like, it's a lingo, I'm sure it stands for something, critical relatedness over the network, something. I don't know. Who knows what it stands for? But basically what that is that he is creating a way where he can send in a boost that'll be a weekly boost if he wants to set up like that. And so maybe it'll have just the same message attached, or maybe it'll just be, who knows, maybe usually these monthly donations don't have the same message attached to it, but this is just a way where it was like, I'd love to be able to just boost the Mere Mortals every single week on the dot just before their podcast, their live episode perhaps, and it's increasing these functionalities of.
That's sick. I like that. Yeah, I really like that,
because at the moment it's like, even though I think Boostagramming itself is so fun, it's so fucking cool. There's so much more you could do with it. A recurring one, or a one which has like a special thing to it, or you could add confetti so that when it you send like a rush boost, for example, there's like a dancing photo of the band appearing on the screen, or like a 420 thing, and then smoke appears on the. There's so much cool stuff you could do, man. There's so many cool things.
I like it. Anyways, that's the Boostagram lunch today. I know we're going a little bit longer. There's a couple. Is there any comments in there that we want to address?
It was about a 20-minute Boostagram.
Yeah, look.
Yes. So we got Joey Broadshoulders in the chat, and he says, sometimes what switches me on is eating. For example, I would eat a carrot and be ready for gym. PS Juan and I have got the same haircut. There's something telepathic between us sometimes, especially clothing wise too.
Yeah, look, by accident I got this haircut because I asked fine on the sides, that's exactly what I wanted, but I was like, oh, can you cut it down a little bit on the top? And then they just like cut so much of it, and I was like, oh, whatever.
Yeah,
So
well, not much.
I asked them, look, just give me the Joey cut. That's what they did, the Joey cut.
That was a good point that he brings up, and which I wanted to talk about was stimulants. What sort of stimulants do you use to switch on, if any?
Yeah, so and some historical information, I guess in the past I would have like a full pre-workout scoop, which a pre-workout scoop most of the time.
So not just for gym as well, but
like I'd say just for gym.
My question, I'm saying,
not just for gym. So look, but at least specifically for gym, it was a pre-workout, say 250 milligrams caffeine and the like. But now broadly, whether it's gym, whether it's life, whether it's whatever, it'll be usually a coffee. So for me, it's a coffee, normally in the morning. I can definitely go without a coffee for a day or 2 days. I'll normally want it more for the flavor, but for the feeling of, I guess, some of the caffeine that hits me with it. Generally, though, I think the stimulant of choice will be some sort of drink, like drinking something.
Okay.
That's broadly. So it could be caffeine. It could be Pepsi Max with a little bit of whiskey. Yeah. It could be orange juice with some cordial. That's also been, and sometimes I'll put creatine or something like that as a mixture. That to me, as long as I'm drinking something, especially if it's got flavor. So if it's not just water, if it's something that has a little bit of flavor, almost immediately I feel a little bit more switched on. Almost like, okay, I'm ready to go. That's like my indication that it's changing. Water for me has I guess a stimulus of some kind, but it just feels like I'm like, whatever, I'm just drinking water. So that would be the only stimulus, I guess. It's a little bit different, but just macro wise. I guess an example for you don't have anything. There's no caffeine.
Well, the only thing I can really say is I will sometimes use food somewhat. So, for example, tonight, this episode will go on for a little bit longer than normal. And if I know it's an evening where it's going to be, I need to get something done, and I like to eat dinner, sometimes start between 8 and 9 p.m. If I know that I'm going to be working up here until 11, then I will usually get something to eat and eat it. And that'll give me sort of like an hour or two boost. So it's a thing that I might use in the evening to sort of switch on to get me through like a little last hurdle sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, and again, but for long-time listeners to the Mere Mortals, you would know this, but I guess maybe it's a little bit specific as well for you because you're a one-a-day eater. Like
yes.
One meal a day
for sure.
Eating,
so it hits big. When I eat something, I can really feel the
energy burst from it.
And it can be whatever, like it can be nuts or chips or an apple or it doesn't really matter what it is, but just something coming in.
Well, I think conversely for me, food doesn't do that at all. It has almost the opposite effect of almost like calming me down, switching me off. If I have, even today, before my workout today, I did feel really hungry and I thought, okay, I'm going to buy a cream bun. I just enjoy cream buns. I'm going to have a cream bun.
Nice, tasty cream bun.
I had the cream bun and it almost switched me off a little bit. I also bought a can of Mother. Yeah, a can of Mother. So that offset it. So I was hungry. But realistically, if I was to look back, it would have been better from a being switched on perspective to just have the drink and not any other food. Okay. That would have made me even more alert.
Yeah, look, food can make you sleepy. Like the food comas. People talk about that sort of stuff all the time. So I don't drink coffee. I don't rarely drink soft drinks, and if I do, it'll be with an alcoholic drink, really. So it's sort of like almost switching me off in a way because it's usually alcohol's like it's a relaxant, like chills me out slightly. But the other day when I was out handstanding, Brendan brought me an extra one of those little caffeine shot type things.
Like
so
it's like an 12-hour energy type of deal.
I don't know. Yeah, it had the equivalent of sort of like 2 cans of soft drink or something like that in terms of caffeine. Had it, and my workout was exactly the same. I didn't notice anything different. So it was sort of...
Well, see, and it's interesting here because some people will feel the milligrams, like the actual caffeine itself, very specifically in the body, and I don't. So, and I know this for sure because my good mate a long time ago when we used to train, he would have just tablets of caffeine instead of having a pre-workout. He would have like a 300 milligram tab of caffeine, and he'd just have that. And I tried them, and I couldn't feel a single thing. I was like, I can't feel anything at all. But when it's a liquid, especially like the flavor liquid, wow, it's a completely different thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Now it's specifically for caffeine, not for something like beta-alanine, where you'll no matter who you are, you'll feel it. Like whether it's positive or negative, you'll feel it for sure. Just because you get a tingling sensation in your skin and stuff like that. That's beta-alanine. But by the by, not really.
Gotcha.
I have one final question for you.
Okay.
Unless you've got other particular topics.
I've got 2 little small ones that I want to get through. So one was, is there anything in your just day-to-day where you're more switched on? So for example, I am way more switched on from wake up to probably about 2 p.m. That is when productive time is for me. Yep. So that's when I want to be doing the sort of mental tasks and consuming things. So this would be trying to learn German. Like I want to be listening to German stuff. I want to be perhaps even, writing stuff down, repeating, taking stuff in, podcasts as well, all those sort of things. And then afternoon is when I want to be, funnily enough, creating, because I find actually creating stuff, I don't need to think because it's editing. It's even the podcast itself like this. I don't feel like I need to be super switched on in a way. It's funny, but it's I when I'm just creating it myself, that's kind of like whatever. Like I don't need to be in peak physical condition, like mental alertness, for example.
To be like, I've got to be... Well, and I guess...
Although maybe these podcasts are really shit because we're doing them all in the evening.
Well, I guess
Is there a huge difference between the meanderings
if we
and
were
musings?
talking about if we were talking about a particular topic that required really conscious
perhaps
mental alertness...
this could be true.
Yeah. I would say, similarly, from when I wake up to maybe midday, I'd say for me, I'd say that's when I like to get most of my conscious effort work done. So whether it's work, whether it's my training.
So you wake up at 4 a.m.
Yeah. So if I'm getting at
4 5 a.m.
Yeah, 4 to 5 a.m. all the way till midday. So that's a good, 7 hours. So like that 7-hour block of training, of French training, with whatever, doing my work, all of that. That's when I want to do my focus time. Normally tapers off after that. Although I guess in the way you're saying, I would prefer to be in the creative / reading and other things, unless there's something that I'm, for some random reason, passionately wanting to know about, and then I will sporadically just become really switched on for no apparent reason without really doing anything. So the example here is maybe I'm editing a video that I really like, or I am.
So I just had this visualization of you watching a really in-depth squatting video or something, and then you're
something like that. Dude,
you're like getting a boner, and you're
something like what was I watching the other day? Like it was late in the afternoon, and I was
switched on right now.
It was like I can't remember his name, Lu Xiang, like Olympic squatting training or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And like it was like a 10-minute thing, and it became like so engrossed in watching that I then built out what I was wanting to do for my Olympic training cycle for the next 2 or so months.
Yeah.
And then I was just so in it for an hour plus, like just so switched on.
Yeah, you love it.
And I was like, oh man, like I just spent all this time and I forgot to do this, etc. But I was like, okay, that sometimes works out well. Yeah. Which is a good thing.
For sure. The other one was you mentioned you will do mental and physical sort of things. So mentally visualizing a lift, for example, and then you've got your physical little mini routine, whatever that's called, the prep, I guess. Well, what's the difference between those two, and do you use mental stuff anywhere else? Because I don't particularly visualize. I don't think I ever have really, and maybe that's because of, here we go, I can use my bloody disorder of aphantasia, where I can't I literally cannot visualize things. I close my eyes and
can't visualize the apple.
I can't picture an apple or anything. So I think that, maybe that's why I don't particularly use visualizations of any sort, because I can't see anything.
And it's weird with things like when we're talking about like visualizing an apple. If you close your eyes and you visualize an apple, I kind of, but it's
fuzzy,
hard.
Yeah.
But if you were to say right now, visualize me squatting 180 kilos with this particular leg movement or ankle movement, it's like so crystal clear. Like I might as well be watching a video of it perfectly right now. Like eyes open, I can visualize it perfectly, the environment easily, like just all of the motion, slow motion. Maybe it's because I've watched a lot of videos of it as well. So I guess like I overlay that with it. I don't know.
That's cool.
But I do that with other things? Not, I don't know. Apart from fitness, I don't know if I do it with work. Maybe in a way like a final product. Like actually no. I definitely do this when it comes to product development. So it's obviously very specific to my work. But if there was a website or an application or a product, I will have a tendency to visualize the entirety of the product. So, if there's 22 pages and ribbons and wizards and spas and all this sort of stuff, I will have a tendency to be able to visualize it all, I guess, in my mind, my mind, and then break it, like chunk it down into, like this section needs 17 connectors and what teams need it. In a rough way, I guess it would do that, I guess, in a visualization perspective. That would be the only other time. Okay. Yeah, but I think, so there are benefits, I think, for me in the visualization aspect, but it probably comes more in the fitness.
For sure.
Yeah.
There you go.
My final question to you and to any of the immortalizers who's still there, if they want to answer this one, is what's more important, switching on or switching off? What would be to you more important, switching on, switching off? Because I think, and this is going to be oddly specific to the individual, so think about it for you guys, me and Mortalites, but I think for me, it's actually more important to be switching off than to switching on. I, at least, again, by routine, I now have routines in place which allow almost subconscious switching on for things. Training, work, doing the podcast, the fact that we've done this podcast, and I said I'd taken no notes before this, and literally 20 minutes before, I was just like, no notes, cool, that's enough. go. Like I guess we've done it enough times that it's fine to be doing those conversations, and it's not such a topic that it requires, tons mental of juggling or
prep or research
exactly.
and things like
so
that. Yeah.
That to me, I'm
like
okay,
we used to
cool.
do. We used to do that a lot.
We did.
We'd come in with huge pages of notes.
Exactly. But switching off, I think it's a hard bit at least, or that's the more valuable bit for me now when it comes to, okay, if I'm going to bed, making sure that my phone is turned upside down, on charge, doing this, switching off when I'm, for me, reading books. I will have a tendency 100% that I'll be reading a book, and I'll get to a point where it's like a typical stop or a new chapter or something like that, and my mind will go to, should I check my phone? Should I check what's going on here? Should I do something else? Should I be like trying to flip back and forth where I wanted to almost switch off in a way to just read, and I guess that also could be termed as switching on and being just in the book. But generally, when I'm reading, I want to be switched off and more in that open, creative, absorbing type of environment. Not, this word, okay, that word means this. Oh, amazing, this means that particular thing. So there are aspects of reading that you could be switched on, but for the general part, I want it to be switched off.
Yeah.
So for me, I would go, well, switching off for me would be more valuable, at least right now.
Yeah. Okay. I would, if we did a poll of people listening at home and you say what's maybe you think maybe more important for Karen, and just knowing my general personality, I would have said, taking a step back and looking at myself, probably switching on is more important, because I'm like low energy Jeb Bush over here. There's not a whole lot of like, active.
It's a steady state.
It's pretty. Yeah, you're exactly right. And steady state is not something you usually think of when like concentrated or hyper focused or getting shit done. Steady state is sort of like you're plottering along, and maybe not a whole lot. Like it's a donkey, right? It's not a high performance car. It's not speed and action going. But when I like drill down into it as well, I think you know what, if you layer on the aspect of my overthinking things, that's when it can get just annoying and stupid. So here's a prime example of exactly what happened today. Effective philosophy also includes actual snippets of what's actually happened in the past as well. So I was going to go for my workout, and as I was walking by, I noticed, there's a couple of we leave recycling stuff on top of the fridge, or at least I do. And I went, sweet, I'll take that out to the recycling bin. I won't have anything else in my hands other than my gym bag. I put that on my shoulder. Sweet. I won't have to make like a separate trip any other time. Yeah. But then I thought, wait, there's some food in the fridge and I'm going to finish 2 more cans tonight. And so maybe it'd be better if I left that bag there, and then I could put these 2 cans in later tonight. And then tomorrow I'd have the opportunity to do like a walk out there, and they'd be in the bag already. And by this point, I had already taken the bag off, put it in my hand, and sort of walked into the other room. And I'd stopped there, and I was thinking about this. And then I just went, I've already spent more time thinking about this than it would have been to just go and do 5 trips to the bin, which is located right outside. Yeah. That's where switching off is important. And that's where I just went, stop thinking, just go.
Well, I think
so yeah, for me, I'd say switching off is probably more important, because that shit like that could just fuck with you forever.
Well, and this comes to the whole, the big piece of it, I guess, when it's switching on and switching off. I think it's where you dictate where the energy wants to be spent, especially with all that focus, because again, being switched on all the time consciously just drains a lot of things that comes to mind from yourself, where it's like that. If you're switched on all the time with, should I be doing this? Should I not be doing this? Should I actually do this? And you just end up wasting all this other extra time, precious time that we shouldn't be used.
Yep.
But my final example, because I haven't shared this with you. Yesterday I was at Fit Stop and I was working out, and I was in a group of 3 people, and I actually noticed just how competitive it was in this particular, might not be all the time, at least I can only say for that time frame workout that we did, but we're doing ski erg calories, and it was in a group of 3. But I could see that people were starting to gather around us in a sort of way to watch as people were doing cals, and specifically how many cals per hour were you doing. And for me, I was switched on in the way that I was working, but I was switched off that I'm not going absolutely hammer and tongs. I wanted to do like a good workout, fun workout. So I'm roughly, just to give you an idea, I'm doing 1,400 to 1,500 calories per hour type of speed. And there's other guys in our team he was wanting to he'd go down to the 1200 and then he'd like crank it up for 2000 and people were like, whoa, wow, this was really good, like going really well. And then he'd be like, come on, Juan, you can crank it up, let's go. Yeah. And there was one point when a few people started gathering around. I was like, okay, like again, just typical one, switched on, and I was like, you know what?
Easy workout.
I'm gonna fuck you all up. I'm gonna fuck you all up. And I just went. I think I hit 2,400 calories per hour on the thing. Just going like madman style on it. Finished it up, and I was like passed it on because it was like a rotational thing. And I could just feel myself just like come out of that super switched on, hyper focused mode.
Yeah.
That just took like nothing. It was just like whether it's competition, whether it was just the environment. I just felt, yeah, okay. So for me, switching off is easily the most important thing. Like what comes easier for me, switched on or switched off?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, gotcha.
Switching off is probably going to be the thing that comes most unnaturally to me. So.
For sure. There you go. Last little comment here from Joe in the live chat. And he says, I think they are equally important, but personally, I think I could be better at switching on more effectively and frequently. That's more a personality thing, though, and everyone probably thinks something similar about themselves naturally. So, yeah, definitely, I would say it's more of a personality thing for the most part, if I had to guess. I
think if you're a passive individual, maybe you want to be more switched on. If you're an aggressive individual or assertive, maybe you want to be more switched off.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Well, what's the thing that Tim Ferriss always says? E-type individual. Never even talks about those B-types. The beta types. So it's probably me. Well, I'm definitely not an A-type. So
what's the other ones? The omega, the alpha. There's the alpha, the beta, the omega, the sigma. That's the one. That's what we're going to try to strive for, folks. Be a sigma male. And with that, we're going to finish off the podcast today, folks, for Musings. It's been a long one. It's been a good one. Enjoyed conversing about the Boostagram stuff as well. So, look, here's a direct comment about the whole Boostagramming and the how we want you to support us, me and Mortalites. I had fun reading all those comments. I had fun conversing about the whole principle of podcasting 2.0, what the space is doing, the new functions and new features. Like we talked about Fountain and the way that we're going to be promoting our stuff. That's the way that we want you to be supporting the podcast. We want you to be helping to Boostagram or stream or tell people through it, or at the very least just using apps like Fountain to just understand what are the other functionalities that you might be missing in the world if you're living in Spotify and Apple or YouTube. Look, there's other apps out there to utilize it, and if you're not listening there, you're probably getting all the value that you could be getting from it. So partake in it. Try to get yourself a wallet.
One thing I want to say as well is, I went through this exact process myself, and it was extremely painful the first time I was learning about podcasting 2.0. I remember going on CurioCast the first time on my phone and just thinking, what a load of shit this is. Yeah. I was not impressed at all, and I couldn't believe that they were talking about it and hyping it up. One thing I was doing wrong was they were talking more about the desktop version, which did have a lot more functionality, and so I was looking on my phone. But the thing to acknowledge is, or just keep in mind, is even if you don't like it now, this shit is changing so quickly. The first Boostagram is less than a year old. So if you go to one of the ones we recommend now, I'd say just keep an open mind that perhaps in the future and you dislike it, that's fine. Like it's hard, we get it. Don't discount it completely, because in a year's time, it's going to be easier.
Exactly.
And it's going to be better. Easier, better, stronger, faster, harder. Less harder.
What's that? Daft Punk.
Yeah.
Daft Punk lyrics insert here. But yeah, look, that's it. We're gonna leave it at that. So of course, I appreciate all the supporters so far with the Boostagram, as we showed you there with the rankings. Get yourself on there. Yep. Add in a little ranking. Get yourself on the board. We're gonna see more people in there.
We really need a way to include Boostagram directly from our site as well, just to see their name pop up on the board. Well, I guess that would have to be the point where that would be automatically set up, and
you could do
Come back in a year's time.
Exactly. All right, me Mortalites, thank you very much for joining. Thank you for the guys tuning in live, and for now, I hope you enjoy yourself wherever you are in the world. Me Mortalites, Juan out.
Karen out. Yo.
Good. Switching off.
Good. We've also got someone I've never seen before. There's a new name, Selena, in the chat. And she says, see ya.
Selena. See you.
No, so Melina says,
Melina.
Melina says,
Melina. Cheers. Appreciate it. Thank you for listening in.
Yeah, thanks for joining in. I hope, I'm not sure, you joined in right at the end, I guess. So I hope you enjoyed whatever.
Enjoy the last 17 seconds of us talking about saying goodbye. I appreciate it. Thank you, Melina.
But yeah. Until next week, people. Peace.